FP3 in Abu Dhabi. It's getting more intense and more interesting, and the better much of Ferrari is getting more worse. Ferrari is not looking like a Ferrari. Ferrari is looking like a Micra. And we saw everything we've been saying in the season come out in this last race of the season. Just practice, and we saw Lewis Hamilton spun. The car just spun on its own. We saw that in Hungary. But this time, the car just spun on its own. A lot of people said, oh, maybe it was because it took too much curbs. Other drivers were taking curbs, bro. Some were saying, he was following too closely. We saw other drivers following too closely, but they didn't have that same issue. That Ferrari, he just lost it. He said it felt like something broke in the front and the red just went out. And we can see that oversteer when he was turning in and he could not control the car. So every other postulation looks like there are no apostles for it. That SF25 is a whack car. That car is gone. And I think Lewis and Ferrari should be out of their misery at the end of tomorrow's race. Even if they didn't get anything, they've secured fourth position. I beg, make them go sit down. And Ferrari are going to get another 50 million. That's crazy, going to make money. Even if Ferrari comes last, they are going to take 50 million. Yesterday, after the race, I looked at the analysis of what Verstappen was doing. I saw that Verstappen was doing a lot of lifting. And I've said that at the beginning of the season. Max Verstappen does a lot of lifting in free practice 1 and 2. And we gain more speed in the qualifying most times. But we see him come out on Saturday and he does exceptionally well. Some people have said, no, he's not doing. He's sandbagging. And we saw that yesterday also. That yesterday was even so obvious. And today he came out. We saw that he was fast. Even on race pace, they were fast. The Lewis Hamilton red flag caught some time for the drivers, but we saw a lot of pit lane incident, Antonelli Albon, and we know that tomorrow's race is going to be very, very splendid. Why will it be splendid? Because it's going to be a race between Red Bull, McLaren, and Mercedes. We saw Ferrari picked up the pace, but that car is still it's too stiff. That car is too stiff. And we've seen since the interjection of John Elkann, that car has not performed well. Maybe it's the driver, but I think Ferrari needs to have a reset at the end of the season and see how they can do a good job. But looking at what the pace looks like, I think on long run pace, we still have the McLarens on pace. They are going to be fast. And on a one lap, in which we know that is the base element of this season, it's just 3 drivers. It's going to be very close. All other smaller teams are getting close except Ferrari. They're going to bunch up. It's going to look very interesting. So let's see how the qualifying will go. But it's going to be a very interesting qualifying. That's the last qualifying of the season. How is it going to go? Yeah. At least if I were Ferrari, I would not go for the qualifying because Ferrari struggled in the qualifying. Charles Leclerc struggled to get into Q3. Lewis Hamilton was out in Q1. He had an accident earlier in FP3. And for me, this time, I don't even know. 3 Q1 exits in a row. That is unbecoming for Lewis Hamilton. As somebody that has dedicated himself, his life, about 70% of it into Formula 1, that is not a way to end this ground effect era. Ferrari are not looking good. Everything does not seem good for Ferrari. And I think next year they have a lot of work to do. Max Verstappen rules in pole position, not just this year, but he rules in pole position in this race. Going into tomorrow, the 3 protagonists are just some few tenths away from each other. Max Verstappen, Lando Norris, Piastri. George Russell will have the best seat in the house to look at them ahead as he's watching the 3 of them try to crown themselves the champion. Now, if Max Verstappen wins the race tomorrow, a winner's medal for him, but Lando Norris comes second or third, Lando Norris wins the championship. So tomorrow, the first thing is where the McLarens are, they should not take themselves out. They take themselves out tomorrow, that's the end of the race for McLaren. And I also think McLaren need to find the space for themselves to find the balance, because if they don't find that space, that pace for balance, McLaren might also ditch their own race. They might destroy their own race tomorrow. So they need to find a balance. So at the end of the day, probably they can win the race with Oscar Piastri. Probably if they want to win. Norris coming second, that's the only way for them. And if they can win the race, then that is a good consolation for Oscar Piastri. It means Oscar Piastri can come in and say, yeah, he won the last race of the season. Lando Norris won the championship, so it's not so bad for him. But if Norris wins and Oscar is third, and there is something in the race that makes Oscar come third, Oscar Piastri will never be happy. He would fight it all out tooth and nail to be like, what is the meaning of this? So there needs to be a balance, and Max Verstappen will not give them a breathing space tomorrow. So there will be 2 stops, and I think what will win the race is strategy tomorrow. Anything less than strategy, you don't have a winner. And with George Russell having the best chair in the house to watch those ahead of him. He also has a role to play, because if George Russell can put himself in a decent position, George Russell possibly he can frustrate these three championship protagonists tomorrow and take opportunity to either win or make them pay themselves a hard way. So George Russell has a role to play, but unfortunately his teammate Kimi Antonelli was out in Q2 and that was painful for him. So let me quickly go through how the drivers qualify. Max Verstappen, Norris, Piastri, Russell, Leclerc, Alonso. What a good final qualifying for him in Abu Dhabi for this ground defect era. Bortoleto, great qualifying for Bortoleto. Bortoleto has done a beautiful job this season. He has made sure he is able to not just put himself in a good position for the last race. He's been a great qualifier and he has held it up for himself. Ocon, great qualifying for him. Out-qualified his teammate Oliver Bierman last qualifying of the season. Isaac Kaja and Yuki Tsunoda. Yuki Tsunoda never had a reason to qualify because at first he gave Verstappen the confidence by giving him the toe, and the second one he doesn't really need because he's leaving the team. And for me, if they tell me to give him a toe, I would just have looked at them and be like, toe ko toto wolf ni oga, get out. Who is giving you a toe, oga? Me too, I have a race to prove, but he didn't do that. He did a good job giving him a toe. He didn't even say it any times. What does he have to lose? He's leaving the team. And tomorrow, if he likes, he can give them a race or not give them a race. But in Q2, Bierman, Carlos Sainz, Lawson, Antonelli 14th, and Stroll 15th. Stroll out of Q1. Great one for him. 16th with Hamilton. Will he make changes to his car? He said no, that the car looks pretty cool. So he might have decent opportunity tomorrow, because if the car looks good, he can do a great race tomorrow. Albon 17th, Hulkenberg 18th, Gasly and Colapinto, the two Alpine, at the back of the grid tomorrow. So give them an opportunity to reflect on this season. Next season they are going on the Mercedes train. So let's see how that season works for them. But they've had the worst season and they need to reflect on it. I think looking back at it, they know that at this point they really messed up. But let's see, tomorrow certainly is going to be a good race. You don't want to miss it, and I hope the whole analysis will be a whole lot, because if the FIA does the FIA things, it will not be funny. But I hope it's a good race. Wishing the three contenders for the championship a good one tomorrow. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please press the subscribe button, follow, share, like. I love you guys. Thank you for always being here with us. I love you so much. You guys are like the backbone of this channel. Thank you. Bye.